Today on Classroom Dynamics.
So the one thing that I would recommend teachers to do is, if you haven't already done so, start experimenting. While there are classes and options out there, if you don't get your hands dirty doing that, there's never going to be a full grasp of understanding what you can control and how it works. So just pick a tool, dive in, and if you don't like that tool, find a different tool.
Welcome to the place where ideas collide. Adam Todd's here to be your guide. For teachers and techies, chasing the spark. Classroom dynamics, where we leave our mark. Let's dive in deep, the future's bright. Innovation shines like morning light. Teachers and tech, hand in hand we go. Welcome to the Classroom Dynamics Show.
Classroom Dynamics is sponsored in part by Logitech Education, empowering student voice and creativity with innovative tools like the Logitech Reach Adjustable Content Camera and the Zone Learn headset designed specifically for student comfort and focus. Discover how Logitech is transforming classrooms at logitech.com/education. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we unlock the future of education. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Adam Todd, and today we're diving deep into one of the most important conversations happening right now in education, and that's AI in the classroom. Today, I'm excited to welcome Max Schuckman, an experienced education leader and consultant whose work sits at the intersection of learning, technology, and innovation. From EdTech platforms like ThingLink to his work with AI Circles, Max supports educators in using technology and AI in a thoughtful, age-appropriate way. In this episode, Max will share what he's seeing in today's classrooms, why AI literacy is becoming essential, and how strong foundations in reading, critical thinking, and evaluating sources matter more now than ever before. And it's all coming up next on Classroom Dynamics, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Classroom Dynamics is brought to you in part by Higher Ground Gear and the Vaulted Cell Phone Pouch, the smarter, faster way to create phone-free classrooms. Built with military-grade construction, RF shielding, and a high-decibel Velcro closure that stops distractions before they start, Vaulted keeps learning focused and secure. No locks, no end-of-the-day bottlenecks, just durable, easy-to-clean protection that gives students what they need most: attention, connection, and calm. Upgrade your school's approach to distraction-free learning with Vaulted at Higher Ground Gear. For more information, visit hggear.com today or contact us at info@hggear.com. Bullying affects every school, but together we can change the story. Box Out Bullying brings powerful bullying prevention education to life through engaging interactive theater that gets students thinking, participating, and learning in meaningful ways. Through dynamic school assemblies, classroom workshops, and training for educators and families, Box Out Bullying equips entire school communities with the tools to build empathy, confidence, and respect. Whether in person or online, these high-energy programs inspire students to be upstanders, not bystanders, and help create safer, more inclusive learning environments. Make your school a place where every student feels seen, supported, and valued. Box Out Bullying. Empower, include, respect. For more, visit boxoutbullying.com today. Today is all about the infusion of AI in the classroom and how we as educators need to know how to effectively blend it into our classrooms. To help us do just that, I'd like to welcome Max Schuckman of ThingLink to Classroom Dynamics. Welcome to the show. So great that you're here to kind of walk us through AI and a little bit about some of the things that we're seeing in the classroom that either are okay or need to be changed.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
So before we get even into the whole AI integration chat, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and something about ThingLink, which is a lot of the work you've been doing.
So about myself, I've been in the education sector about a decade now. I've been working mostly in higher ed, but have transitioned into educational technology and now work with more K-12. And ThingLink is a company I've been with for almost a year now as a consultant for operations and how messaging for outreach. And they're a very fascinating technology. Their premise is technology mediated learning. So they're an immersive learning platform that focuses on bringing the knowledge and content of education in real life to the 2D and 3D world. So it's everything from creating and tagging images in Canva, or creating 360 pano and tagging and embedding other content within that, as well as so making the environment much more immersive. To guidance is in like branching, feedback. One of our most popular features is scenario builder, where you can kind of walk through different scenarios. And the next level is assessment. So feedback, making sure that the lessons are sticking through some assessment tools. And all this can be done via content that's already exists. We also have partnerships with Canva. And obviously there's an AI component.
Right. So let's go into all that stuff, right? There's a lot there that you just kind of like mapped out for us through all the work that you're actually doing. What are you seeing right now when it comes to classrooms, with all the immersive learning, all that AI? Let's break it down for teachers. What's actually working for students, and what are you noticing that may not be working for students?
I think the first thing I like to start with when it comes to AI and all of these types of options are tools. They're not thinking machines. They're tools, and the humans are still the human in the loop. It still needs to be about the cognitive development of the students. And while AI can be, I think some of the best cases of AI are used as extensions and or customizations for students, because any teacher that's sitting in a classroom with 20, 30, however many students are in their class, you can't be everywhere at once. So it provides that gap as an assistant to a teacher in order to help. The other thing that we're seeing, especially with some of the immersive learning scenarios, is it's a way to bring experiences and life in outside of the classroom into the classroom. So one of the newer features that ThinkLink has been rolling out is models. So for example, being able to get a 3D model of a machinery or a scenario, and you can break it apart and understand how to get in there without actually taking the students into a mechanic shop or into going on a deep sea adventure. So it's a way to bring the world to your fingertips.
So when we talk about AI literacy, you were talking about the cognitive development, and a lot of the podcast episodes that we've done this year has gone around what AI is and how that is affecting the kids. So what traditional skills, because let's be honest, traditional skills versus technology skills are going to be a little bit different here. So what traditional skills do students really need to develop before anything else? And even so that they get to that point where they understand how the AI is fitting into their learning, rather than just using the tool as a shortcut or as a tool for them to actually do the work for them, which a lot of them are doing right now as is.
So I think the first thing all parents, teachers need to acknowledge is that students are using AI, and like all ages. And I think one of the things that we're worried about is that you get to a scenario where you have an AI tool that students are using, you have an AI tool that teachers are using, and it just becomes AI talking to AI. And so I think the things that become much more critical to learn and understand is one, reading comprehension. And it's not just being able to read or view something and say, oh, okay, take it at face value. It's the standard, is this a primary source, secondary source? What is the author, or who's posting this, or who developed this content? And what's their viewpoint? What are they thinking about? Is there something that they're trying to convey?
Right, because that's where the bias that's where the bias is going to come into play, which they may not be aware of.
Yeah, and the other thing is also understanding and learning about the tells per se in AI video and content, especially video, where understanding like, oh, this person's fingers don't go all in the right direction, or there's something off about like the lighting in this video, but learning about how to discern what's real from what might be generated. And I think those are all skills that can be done at a very early age. And I think it's something that those are kind of the foundational building blocks that once you understand, like I said, AI is a tool, and understand how to critically analyze the content that you are facing, it then helps you readjust to like, okay, if this is how other people are using this content, or this is how the content is developed, how can I use that in a positive way? How can I use that to help for a teacher's perspective? How can I use this content to help my students with the lessons? So a great example is I've been working with this group called AI Circles, which is, it's more adult learning, but introducing people to AI and through peer learning circles. And it's something that can be easily adapted to for teachers or for students students in the fact that like understanding how the AI works at a very elementary level. I'm not a technician. I do not have an engineering background, but how we can use it to kind of customize AIs. So for example, like a teacher bot where you only feed in the materials that are relevant to that lesson or to that class. And this way you build those guardrails around AI, because when students go on the internet and they type in, your AI browser of choice, there aren't very many guardrails.
Yeah, no, it's funny. A couple of years ago when AI started to make its entrance into the education space, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's 10 years away." I mean, come on. That's down the road. I can worry about it then. I don't need to think about it now. But the acceleration of it into the classroom really over the last year has been so exponential that if teachers don't really start using it, and we've all probably seen this comment, right? If you're not using it, you're falling behind. It's getting to that point where that's true. If you're not using it, you are falling behind. If you don't understand how to use it, you're falling behind. If you don't understand all the intricacies that go into AI and what you're getting out of it with prompting and whatnot, you are falling behind. So with kids today, even teachers, I know there's teachers out there that are probably going to agree with me. They're probably guilty of it. Like how much do you weigh the use of it? What's the right amount? And we're still at that infancy stage that there is no right amount. I don't think anyone can actually tell us exactly what is exact for our classroom or our grade level or curriculum. But the guardrails do make sense because at least it gives teachers a little bit of a hand on a steering wheel versus, just driving blindly through the dark.
100%. And that is what I advise people who are AI skeptics. And don't get me wrong, when I first heard about AI, I was like, that's not going to impact me too much before fully diving in and learning about it. Because the way I think about it is if you don't learn about it, it's going to be dictated by someone who knows more about it. So if you're a teacher, you should at least understand AI and understand how the different use cases and some of the kind of concepts that we were just talking about, because that helps you control the narrative and helps you kind of use AI in a productive manner as opposed to someone else who is using AI and might be a little more careless about the use cases or the boundaries or the guide rails.
I think Google Notebook LM does a really good job at that because at least teachers can put in, or even students, because it's really meant for kids too, in terms of like studying and understanding and researching, put in what you want so that you can learn from exactly that versus the entire internet as a whole.
Yeah. And another, use case for AI that I was talking with an after-school educator about in Brooklyn was they do like a drama program, and AI could help the students design their sets ideas and design it. Like AI can be very valuable in creating. And it's kind of, there's a book I read a few months ago called Teacher and the Machine, which was kind of a history of EdTech. And it's interesting because some of the questions that we're asking now, you had these early computer engineers asking in the education space in the 1960s. So these are not new conversations. The technology is new, but the conversations aren't new. And one of the theories that I was very interested about is how do the students connect to the technology? And there was, I'm unfortunately blanking on the name of the theorist, but there was one theorist who was saying computers are learning machines. And so having the students dictate to the computers and kind of teach the computers helps them gain mastery and control over the technology. At the same time, the computers learn more and adapt more to the students' brains.
It's more like coding in a way.
That was the original use case. But now, with AI, like you can do that with most content.
It's pretty cool. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at the good and, yes, even the not-so-good side of AI in the classroom. More with Max right after this. Attention educators, meet the Logitech Zone Learn, the classroom headset designed for learners and built for schools. Engineered for comfort and durability, the Zone Learn delivers crystal clear audio, helping students focus and fully engage during lessons, group projects, and online learning. Built to last, its modular design adapts to any classroom setting and ensures a reliable, distraction-free learning experience. With Zone Learn, your students can hear the difference, which helps boost learning. For more information, visit logitech.com/Zone Learn.
Looking to spark excitement in your classroom and save time? Head over to Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. From engaging lesson plans to creative lab books and test prep tools, these resources are designed to inspire learning and take the planning stress off your plate. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. For more, search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers today.
Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics, where today we're talking all AI in the classroom, what's working, what may not be working, and with my good friend, Max Schuckman. So, Max, as we started talking already, as schools start to experiment with AI tools, what are some common implementation missteps that you're seeing? And not necessarily from a place of misuse, but rather from just really good intentions by teachers or educators.
One of the biggest missteps is, as I mentioned earlier, trying to keep AI in the box and trying to avoid it at all costs. Because as I mentioned, most students, at all ages have access to the internet, and these tools exist on the internet. So they can access ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, any of those tools online anyway. So we have to acknowledge once again that it's real. I think some of the missteps is, and one thing I worry about is focusing too much on AI tutors, so much that there's a school of thought out in the EdTech world that AI tutors can replace teachers. And I don't think that will ever happen. I don't think that's something that could possibly happen. So I'm not trying to alarm any listeners, but I do think there is something inherently human about learning and peer-to-peer learning that needs to be involved in implementing AI. As I've been kind of repeating myself a lot throughout this episode, is AI is a tool. And I think part of that is another thing to consider is screen time. So I know there's a big back and forth about cell phones in classrooms or in schools. I'm sure many students have access to screens at home. I know there's a lot of work being done in the classroom on screens. So that's another thing to consider is you can't just have the students sitting on screens conversing with an AI, because there's so much in learning that is still peer-to-peer and inherently human to human. I think the other, and then the last piece I'm going to mention on this is one thing I love about education is it's sticky. It's not linear. It's not like as much as we'd love it to be, and as much as we try to assess it that way, it's not, okay, lesson, mastery, done, on to the next thing. It's sometimes some students might pick things up right away. Some students might take a little bit. Students interact with the material a little differently. Some might learn more through reading. Some might learn more through, presentations. Some might learn more through discussion. So there are things that AI cannot replace. And trying to make AI from the other end of the spectrum of the schools that don't want to use AI, the teachers who are like, I'm going to throw AI into everything, that's also something to worry about.
So what can educators do differently to set themselves up for success just from the start?
So the first thing I would say is, evaluate the tools. Understand AI, as I mentioned, is a machine, and it does better with the more instruction that you can give it. And there's a tool that I use that's actually really helped called Prompt Cowboy. So whenever I'm creating a tool or using AI and I want to improve my instructions or my prompts, I actually run things through Prompt Cowboy, which is free. You get a few before you have to plug in your email, but it's a free tool, and it helps you kind of break down your ask and improve your ask. So it's not just, build me a lesson on the American Revolution. It's, okay, I am teaching a class of sixth graders. We are talking about the American Revolution. We want to discuss this lens. We want to, I want to account for X, Y, Z. Maybe if you're in New York City, you want to highlight any battles or relevant events that happened during the American Revolution in the New York City area, and potentially think about resources that, extended resources. The other thing is, or you might want to pull resources from a textbook or from materials that you already have. So what I would say is understanding that first level of how AI goes through, and AI or a lot of these chatbots are prediction machines. So they just kind of predict when they're responding to your prompts, they're kind of predicting word by word, which is how you get some awkward phrase things or a lot of repetitive phrases. They're predicting what word is next. So understanding that, being able to kind of guide the machine to provide outcomes that you're looking for will be super valuable in creating relevant content. I think the other thing that I've been expanding into AI is thinking about, because we have all these tools and materials at our fingertips, how creative can we get with it? We're no longer bounded by the classroom or the same teaching materials that we've had, for years over years over years. If you want to get in a video version of, George Washington talking about his battle strategy, and have that video to the kids, to your classroom, and have them kind of interview an AI George Washington, you can do that. And that would add something to the lesson, as we mentioned, with students understanding things differently and interacting with content differently. It would really brighten up these things. Because at the end of the day, when I'm designing curriculum or when I'm working on trying to create content, the thinking is, the thing I always comes back to is that student in the back of the room going, when am I ever going to need to know this? How do you make it so that it's engaging and fun?
I say this to teachers a lot. At least I find myself saying this to teachers a lot, that, using technology is not a replacement of you. Using technology is not a replacement of doing the work for the kids and whatnot. We all, I think, can agree to that. But using the technology for that engagement, to give them a different angle, that understanding, is so important. And like you said, the way they just absorb content these days, if you don't use it to your advantage, that is a little bit of a problem in a 21st century classroom. You have to use this to your advantage. That doesn't mean you have to use it for everything. That doesn't mean you have to use it in every math lesson or every reading or writing lesson or social studies, science. I can go on and on and on. You don't have to do that, but to at least understand using it at some point, you're just going to increase that engagement level to those kids, that you're going to reach more because of it, because you're using the technology they want to use, that they want to see. So it was a great point with the engagement purposes there.
Yeah. And the other thing is, something that ThingLink does is ThingLink has plans that enable student creators. So in the controlled environment of a classroom, you can have your students create, which then once again gives them autonomy in their own learning, which is, in a world where they have all these tools at their fingertips and they're using them already, it really feels like they have ownership and pride in their lessons.
I love that you even said, you had mentioned Canva before. I love using Canva for the kids, and showing them how to use the tools in Canva is one thing. And that's what I'll teach them. I'll teach them the program. And honestly, I tell the kids sometimes we could spend a year and a half on Canva because it's so big. There's so much in there that we could do, when you see kids only once a week. But then once they get the real good, solid basics of it, and you can just throw an infographics, assignment at them on any social studies topic or science topic that they're learning in whatever grade level that they're on, they love to do that. They love to find the pictures, add to it, get the fun facts, do the research, build it together, share the projects with one another. It is an amazing thing when you see them working together, that you could almost leave the classroom for a half hour. It's just, it is such a different ball game, but you have to use that to your advantage. So you also believe in the importance of evaluating the good versus the bad uses of AI. So let's give teachers some tangible ideas. What does that even look like in a classroom setting for them, and how can teachers model this for students? Because I think that's the thing that teachers are most afraid of with AI. How do I model this for the kids to do what I want them to do, but also for how they want to use the AI?
So I think one of the first things as a teacher I would do is think about my outcomes. As you're writing lesson plans, as you're building out your curriculum, you're always thinking about learning outcomes. That same topic still applies when it comes to using technology and AI tools. What is the goal here? Is my goal to bring an interactive component to a lesson that I already have? Is it to bring the students to view from a different viewpoint? And so from a different viewpoint, or like to show, this is how this group was feeling and experiencing. This is how this group was feeling and experiencing during the same time frame. Or is it to bring something to life? One great example I've seen in ThingLink is someone used AI to recreate the town of Macomb, Alabama from To Kill a Mockingbird. And you could go to the courthouse and go speak to, Scout and Jem, which is incredible because it brings this book that is, almost a century old now to life. So that would be the first thing. What are my outcomes? I think the second piece is based on those outcomes, then you map on what tools do I need? Is this Canva? Is this ThingLink? Is this, a custom GPT bot? And then from there, you can then evaluate those tools through the lens of, how do I build my guardrails? Guardrails and security are very important. If you want to keep it grounded in certain content, so let's say you want to use your lesson plans, you can upload your lesson plans in your own little instance and instruct your AI tool, to only use the content in those lesson plans. Or if you want to make sure it's only from a reputable source, I would make sure that that you understand what sources the AI is pulling from, and you can make those instructions. I think that's something that teachers, a mind shift that the teachers can really benefit from, is you have autonomy and can control what goes into the AI and control what the AI output is. And learning how to do that, which is something I work on with AI Circles. There are some technical people that go through this AI Circles curriculum, which is a 6-week curriculum that is a very introductory level public AI peer learning group. You learn the tools at a very introductory level and then start customizing and start building.
I love the fact that you mentioned that teachers can put in what they want to get out of it. That's such an important part of AI and understanding of AI and how to actually really truly integrate that into the classroom. So if there is something that you pick up from that, that is such a great point. Put in what you want, put those guardrails up on your own so that you don't rely on the entire internet for your pulling. You don't want to pull everything that's out there because there are things that are out there that may not work. It might have bias in it. It might have something in there that's just not appropriate age level for that kid. So what a great idea. Put in what you want to get out of it. We are going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we'll wrap things up with Max. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Behind every successful student is a teacher who feels supported. At Catapult Learning, we partner with educators through coaching, collaborative professional development, and classroom-proven tools. Our programs aren't just theory. They're actionable, relevant, and built to make your daily work easier and more effective. With 45 years of evidence-based success, Catapult provides the guidance and resources that help educators grow so students thrive. Catapult Learning, empowering teachers, inspiring futures. Learn more at catapultlearning.com.
Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics. We have about 2 minutes left. So if you could give us just one mindset shift or practical takeaway for using AI responsibly, what would you want teachers to focus on starting like right now, like right away, tomorrow, today, whenever? What's one thing that they could focus on?
So the one thing that I would recommend teachers to do is, if you haven't already done so, start experimenting. While there are classes and options out there, if you don't get your hands dirty doing that, there's never going to be a full grasp of understanding what you can control and how it works. So just pick a tool, dive in, and if you don't like that tool, find a different tool.
Well, as you could tell, AI is here to stay. Now it's up to us as educators to use it wisely and positively for educational outcomes and positive educational outcomes that we're looking for. So thank you for highlighting why AI literacy and all the critical thinking and evaluating sources matter more than ever before. Before we go, Max, just tell everyone where they can go to find out more about you and the work that you're doing with ThingLink and everything else about you.
ThingLink is thinglink.com. You can go there and it tells you more about us. You can find me on LinkedIn at Max Schuckman, SHUCHMAN. I'm also an educational consultant. So if you'd like to reach out for operations or programs, it's MS Education Strategy LLC. And you can reach out to me at Max Schuckman. So my first name, last name at gmail.com. But find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. And would love to work with you or hear feedback.
Such a great conversation, great ideas for teachers. For those who have been listening, thank you for tuning in today. Make sure that you share what you've learned or any takeaways or reflections that you've had and tag us on X at Class Dynamics or on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. You can also find all of our links, including information about our sponsors, on our link tree at Classroom Dynamics. We always look forward to hearing your thoughts on our episodes and sharing the different ways in which you're using what you've learned. And more importantly, share this episode with one colleague who you feel can benefit from today's show. You can also help support Classroom Dynamics with as little as $3 a month at classroomdynamicspodcast.buzzsprout.com. Once again, I'd like to thank Max Schuckman from ThingLink for joining us today on this amazing episode of Just More AI. And thank you for being with us and for all the time and great information that you shared. So thanks again.
Of course, my pleasure.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Classroom Dynamics. I hope today's conversation sparked something meaningful for you, maybe a new idea, a fresh perspective, or just a little boost of motivation to take back to your classroom. Remember, it's never too late to strengthen your craft, and if there's ever a moment to re-energize your work, why not make it today? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. Follow us on X at Class Dynamics and on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep that spark alive and never underestimate the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. Did you miss our episode with 11-year-old photographer Tyler Devane? If so, join us as we sit down with this inspiring youngster whose stunning bird photos have gained global attention. Join us as we explore creativity, mindfulness, and student voice, and the magic that happens when curiosity meets nature.
Most birds have what's called an anisodactyl toe arrangement, which is when they have 3 toes forward and 1 back. But ospreys, they have a flexible outer toe that rotates backwards, and it makes it a zygodactyl grip, which is 2 toes forward and 2 back.
I don't even think I could pronounce that word. Wait, what was that again?